Is Romans 11:21 through 24 teaching that you can lose your salvation? Absolutely not. Let's get into it. Starting at verse 21, it says, "For if God spared not the natural branches, take heed lest he also spare not thee. Behold, therefore, the goodness and severity of God on them which fell, severity, but towards thee goodness, if thou continue in his goodness. Otherwise thou also shall be cut off." What is this talking about? Let's set some context. Verse 17, "And if some of the branches be broken off, and thou being a wild olive tree," that's Gentiles, "were grafted in among them, and with them partakest of the root and fatness of the olive tree. Boast not against the branches, boast not against the Israelites, the Jews. But if thou boast, thou bearest not the root, but the root thee. Thou wilt say then, the branches were broken off," speaking of Israel, the nation of Israel, "that I might be grafted in," Gentiles being boastful. Well, because of unbelief, who were broken off? Israel, the Jews. They crucified the king. "And thou stands by faith. Be not high-minded, but fear. For if God spared not the natural branches," speaking of the Jews, "take heed lest he spare not thee," Gentiles. This is the book of Romans. Paul is writing to Gentiles. "Behold, therefore, the goodness and severity of God on them which fell, severity, but towards thee goodness, if thou continue in his goodness. Otherwise thou also shalt be cut off." So verse 11:22 here, it is not talking about individuals being cut off. This is talking about groups of people. The context is talking about Jews and Gentiles. Gentiles being grafted in to the faith by the sacrifice of Jesus Christ, that he died for the sins of the world, not just Israel. So the Apostle Paul is warning the Gentiles, don't become high-minded and don't, cast off your first love. Continue in Jesus Christ all of your generations, or you too will be broken off like the Jews were. Verse 23, "And they also, if they abide not still in unbelief, shall be grafted in." So this verse is not teaching that you could lose your salvation and then get it back. It's saying that the Jews were broken off for unbelief. They rejected the Messiah. But in this very same verse here, it says, "For God is able to graft them in again." And we know that Jews today are still being saved. There are many ministries in Israel that witness to Jews to tell them that Jesus Christ is the Messiah. So this is not referring to individual Jews. It's talking about them as a people group, as a nation. Verse 24, "For if thou were cut out of the olive tree, which is wild by nature, and were grafted contrary to nature into a good olive tree, how much more shall these, which be the natural branches, be grafted into their own olive tree?" God is not done with Israel. Jews are still being saved today, and he's saying it is possible to graft them back in, and he will. During the 70th week of Daniel, after the rapture of the church happens, God will go back to dealing with Israel. So this verse is not teaching you can lose your salvation and get it back. It's speaking about nations. The Jews were broken off for unbelief, and he's warning the Gentiles not to get all puffed up because they too can be broken off for unbelief. It is not talking about individual people. So that answers that, I think. Catch you next time. Take care, guys. Thank you.